By the time the Doom-Stalker lowered itself to the human's eye level, a posture that triggers panic in 7 known species, the outcome was inevitable. The creature's bioluminescence had stabilized in rhythmic pulses. Its limbs vibrated at a frequency matching human laughter responses. And when the human finally scratched the ridge between its ocular stalks, the resulting sound wave pattern bore a suspicious resemblance to a contented cat's purr. 17 fleets had failed to pacify a Doom-Stalker. It took one human with working knowledge of canine body language to accidentally domesticate it. The galaxy's leading xenopsychologists are still arguing over whether this represents a brilliant survival, adaptation, or humanity's single stupidest evolutionary trait. Meanwhile, the Doom-Stalker has learned to nudge human visitors with its bluntest limbs when it wants ear scritches. Security officers report it whines if they use the standard containment protocols. The human extended a hand. The room's oxygen recyclers audibly strained. 3 visible signs mark this as statistically the worst possible action. First, the Doom-Stalker's serrated limbs were vibrating at combat frequency, enough to slice through reinforced hull plating. Second, neurotoxic barbs along its dorsal ridge had extended to full length, each capable of delivering a dose that could drop a Q-Wrath battle mech. Third, the creature's main ocular cluster had locked onto the human's radial artery with targeting precision. 3 delegates didn't wait to see what happened next. The Vorkanian ambassador triggered his emergency beam out mid-scream. 2 Tulvani diplomats phased through the floor so fast they left after images. Only the HFY representative stood his ground, but that was because their species freezes, completely when terrified. The human's posture would have gotten any Earth canine specialist nodding in approval. Weight shifted slightly back on the heels. Shoulders rounded to appear smaller, fingers curled inward with no sudden movements. It mirrored the Mars Zoological Institute's documented submissive greeting posture to within 3 degrees of accuracy. A textbook approach for meeting dangerous Earth mammals. None of those protocols had been written with multidimensional apex predators in mind. Security feeds show the exact millisecond the human's pulse spiked, not from fear, from suppressed excitement. Their pupils dilated like someone spotting a rare bird species. The corner of their mouth twitched upward. Later interviews confirmed the thought process. I just really wanted to see if it felt like shark skin or more like chitin. The Doom-Stalker's reaction defied 17 known behavioral models. Its neural clusters fired in a cascading spiral pattern never before recorded. The oscillation should have preceded an attack surge. Instead, the creature went perfectly still except for one primary sensory stalk, the equivalent of giving a single twitch after someone calls your name. Human vocal patterns did the rest. That particular pitch and cadence, rising slightly at the end, lingering on the sibilants, matched Earth's universal nice doggy voice. The Mars Institute's interspecies communication protocols listed as technique number 4, effective prosody override. Basically, talking to scary things like their pets until they stop acting scary. 6 hidden weapons in the chamber auto-targeted the human at that moment, not because they posed a threat, because their biometrics showed reckless disregard for personal safety. The security AIs classified the behavior as active, self-endangerment, and prepared to neutralize the idiot before they got everyone killed. Then the Doom-Stalker lowered its primary, sensory stalk into the human's palm. Not a strike. Not a probe. The motion carried clear tactile curiosity. 3 distinct pauses to assess reaction before fully committing. Its bioluminescence rippled from combat crimson to something resembling Earth's aurora borealis. The human's fingers moved instinctively. Thumb strokes along the stalk's dorsal side. Gentle pressure at the base where sensory nodes clustered, exactly where you'd scratch a reluctant dog behind the ears. The Doom-Stalker's reaction would go down in xenobiological history. All 18 limbs slackened simultaneously. Its neurotoxic barbs retracted with audible clicks. The terrifying vibrational hum shifted frequency into something that made 3 different delegate species suddenly recall their own juvenile comfort behaviors. The HFY ambassador later described it as like hearing a forgotten lullaby from hatchling creche. Security teams held fire because the creature's weapon systems were visibly powering down, not deactivating, the difference between someone lowering a gun versus tossing it away. Every combat reflex had been manually overridden by higher neural functions. Later scans would show activity spikes in regions analogous to Earth mammal pleasure centers. Then the human made it worse. They laughed. Not nervous tension release, the bright, startled chuckle of someone unexpectedly tickled, because the Doom-Stalker's sensory stalks had twitched in response to the scratching, like a cat's ear flick when you hit the right spot. 17 different threat assessment systems crashed at that moment. Their algorithms couldn't reconcile the sensory input. A creature that had once depopulated New Uldar Station was now nuzzling a human hand like an Earth kitten seeking attention. The containment protocols had no contingencies for apparently enjoying pets. The Mars Institute's later analysis identified 7 separate points where the human should have died. Each time the Doom-Stalker aborted nascent attack reflexes within 0.2 seconds, faster than conscious decision-making allowed. The leading theory? Instinctive mirroring of human social bonding behaviors so deeply wired they bypassed standard predator circuits. By the 3-minute mark, the creature had begun actively positioning itself for better scratching access. Its bulk obscured 2/3 of the human from view. Not a tactical advantage, but the equivalent of a large dog leaning into pets. The remaining delegates stopped reaching for weapons. Some started taking notes. When the human finally stopped just to flex their fingers, the Doom-Stalker emitted a vibrational pulse that shattered 6 stress monitoring implants in the room. Not aggression, displeasure. The soundwave profile later matched Earth feline petting deprivation protests to within 3% variance. Security finally intervened when the human muttered, "Okay, okay," and resumed scratching with both hands. That level of successful interspecies communication warranted immediate documentation before someone got killed by accident. The lead xenologist's field notes from that moment read simply, "Subject has effectively trained a Doom-Stalker using techniques for Earth domestic animals. Recommend immediate promotion and hazard pay." The final security feed shows the Doom-Stalker's main body coiled in what 6 peer-reviewed journals now classify as a contentment spiral. Its bioluminescence pulsed in slow, rhythmic waves perfectly synced to the human's scratching pattern. 12 fleets worth of weaponry, rendered inert by finger motions designed to placate. Wolf's diplomatic historians would later mark this as the precise moment humanity's galactic reputation shifted from reckless newcomers to those terrifying primates who domesticate everything. The surviving delegates didn't argue trade terms that day. They sat very still and took careful notes on proper scritching techniques. When the human finally stepped back, the Doom-Stalker followed. Not with predator stalking motions, but with the hesitant half-steps of an Earth dog hoping the walk isn't over. Its neural clusters fired in a brand new pattern later dubbed affiliative separation distress by embarrassed xenologists. The security chief's log entry concluded, "Note to all personnel. Doom-Stalker containment procedures now include treats." The Andromeda Cognitive Warfare Division received the security feed precisely 1.3 standard hours after the incident. 27 senior analysts watched the playback 11 times before filing their initial report. All previous models of interspecies threat assessment no longer apply. By the next morning, 43 major galactic academies had added emergency curriculum modules titled Human Amygdala Response Case Study. 1. The Vulpex Confederacy recalled their entire diplomatic corps within 8 hours of the footage leaking. Their neural architecture processes terror on a logarithmic scale, a biological necessity when your predators hunt via psychic resonance. Fear exists across 17 measurable intensities in Vulpex psychology, from mild discomfort to cellular cascade failure. The human in that chamber registered none. Their biometrics showed steady respiration, normal cortisol levels, even occasional dopamine spikes when the Doom-Stalker's bioluminescence shifted colors. Drazic combat instructors faced a worse humiliation. Their species evolved alongside crystalline magma worms. Fear isn't an emotion for them. It's a tactical calculation processed in the prefrontal cortex. Every cadet learns to assess threats via the unified hazard matrix: size, weaponry, movement patterns. The human ignored all 3 metrics. Their sensory inputs focused on entirely wrong data points: texture, vocal tone reciprocity, involuntary limb tremors. The Drazic War College issued new manuals within 3 days, adding an entire appendix titled Effective Priority Overrides in Human Subjects. Standard galactic defense protocols assume universal biological constants. Pupil dilation indicates threat assessment. Raised extremities signal aggression. Adrenaline spikes precede combat. The human's nervous system treated these like mild suggestions. Their pupils only dilated when examining the Doom-Stalker's bioluminescent patterns, a reaction later attributed to aesthetic appreciation rather than fear. Their single notable adrenaline surge occurred when considering whether the creature might enjoy belly rubs. 17 separate research outposts initiated live trials after the incident. The Mars Zoological Institute's findings proved most unsettling. They exposed human test subjects to holograms of known galactic predators while monitoring neural activity. 3 key differences emerged. First, human brains processed predator visuals through both the amygdala and the superior colliculus, meaning they analyzed threat potential and aesthetic qualities simultaneously. Second, their mirror neuron systems activated more strongly than self-preservation circuits when observing non-human movement. Third, and most worrying to security personnel, humans exhibited stronger stress responses to confined spaces than to visible weaponry. Military strategists faced immediate problems. The Vulpex's famed terror weapons relied on inducing cascading panic states. Drazic boarding parties trained to maximize visible threat displays. Against humans, both tactics failed. A captured human mercenary's debrief revealed why. When shown footage of a standard Drazic boarding action, species-appropriate intimidation postures, weapons display protocols, they shrugged. Big guys with armor and guns. So every bar in Detroit. Galactic analysts spent weeks researching this Detroit before realizing it referred to a human settlement pattern, not a tactical doctrine. The Andromeda Division's revised manuals now occupy 3 storage servers. Key revisions include: human engagement protocols must account for curiosity-driven approach behaviors, Section 4.2.7. Standard intimidation postures may trigger affiliative responses if resembling Earth species, Appendix D. And most controversially, human subjects may misinterpret life-threatening scenarios as bonding opportunities under specific conditions. 37. Ambassadors formally protested this last clause as culturally inflammatory. 3. Species-initiated emergency ambassador recalls after the incident. The Gorthian delegation cited irreconcilable risk assessment differences when withdrawing their team from Earth-adjacent sectors. Tilvani High Command mandated full neurological recalibration for all diplomatic personnel, a painful 6-week procedure to overwrite instinctive threat responses. The Ig-Hazut took more direct action. Their revised first contact manual now begins with, if human present, assume all danger scales invalid. Meanwhile, the human student at the incident center received 14 formal marriage proposals within a month. Not romantic advances, strategic ones. The Vulpec Scientific Collective offered shared custody of future offspring for comparative neural studies. 3 independent. Drazic warrior clans sought breeding rights to propagate the fear negation trait. The most persistent came from a Doom-Stalker research enclave, whose proposal included detailed plans for interspecies cognitive bonding rituals. The human declined all offers, though security logs show they did send the Doom-Stalker group a care package containing an imported Earth-scratching post. The incident's academic impact keeps expanding. Xenopsychology departments created entirely new subfields overnight. Comparative threat disregard studies, non-standard affective processing, emergency primate socialization. 27 peer-reviewed papers were retracted when their models couldn't reconcile the human's behavior. The Mars Institute's lead researcher summarized the dilemma. We spent centuries mapping how intelligent species react to danger. Humans don't react, they interact. This isn't bravery. It's some kind of perceptual rewiring we can't replicate. Military applications followed swiftly. The Confederacy's new human-integrated boarding teams show 38% higher success rates in live exercises. Their official report notes, human crew members consistently approach fortified positions without triggering standard defense protocols. Subjects report treating heavily armed opponents like shy dogs. Effectiveness remains high despite occasional attempts to pet Defang Bing Chi. Galactic academies still can't agree on classification. Is this a neurological aberration? An evolutionary adaptation? The Vulpex insist it's a pathology. The Drazic argue it's advanced combat conditioning. The human's own explanation, delivered while absent-mindedly sketching the Doom-Stalker during debrief, was simpler. "You guys never had bears?" Security footage from that summit now plays on loop in 17 species war colleges. Analysts keep isolating the moment when the Doom-Stalker first nuzzled the human's hand. Advanced algorithms measure microexpressions, bioelectric fluctuations, quantum-level neural spikes. None detect any human fear, just quiet concentration, and when the creature's bioluminescence shifted to cobalt, blue, something resembling delight, the Ig Hazut ambassador's final report contained one handwritten note later, circulated through diplomatic channels. "Recommend immediate quarantine of human planetary systems. Not for our safety, for theirs. Any species that pets Doomstalkers will eventually try riding Reaver-class predators." And we all know what comes next. That prediction took only 3 months to fulfill. The footage from the Battle of Zeta Cygni shows human medics distracting a wounded Reaver with improvised laser pointers while securing evacuation routes. The creature responded by actively herding enemy combatants toward containment fields. Its bioluminescent patterns matched those of an Earth dog playing fetch. 74% of galactic military institutions now classify human fear response anomalies as strategic assets. The rest consider them public health hazards. The human from the original incident remains unfazed. They currently work as a consultant at the Mars Institute, where security cameras routinely catch them sneaking treats to the captive Doomstalker in the xenobiology wing. The creature's last health evaluation noted increased docility and, inexplicably, an acquired preference for peanut butter. Diplomatic norms haven't recovered. 15 species now insist on pre-summit human behavioral briefings. 3. The harvesters weren't the only ones taking notes. Confederate strategists had the security feed playing within 20 minutes of the summit's conclusion. Their analysts kept isolating the same 3-second clip, the exact moment when humanity's combat doctrine required complete recalibration. Classic deterrence theory relies on predictable threat responses. Humans don't provide those. Fleet Admiral Vex's infamous teddy bear doctrine memo leaked 4 days later. The thrust was simple. Traditional warfare assumes the enemy values self-preservation. Human boarding parties now had standing orders to carry domesticated animals during first contact scenarios. The reasoning? Psychological studies showed a 400% increase in conflict de-escalation when humans were observed interacting with small mammals. Vex's exact words still circulate in black site training facilities. Deploying humans without companion species constitutes negligence under the revised engagement protocols. This wasn't theoretical. 6 frontline fleets immediately requested human companion units. Standard boarding teams now integrate at least one human-animal pairing per strike group. The Vulpec's 7th Armada keeps Terran mammals on every bridge, not as mascots but as documented threat reduction tools. Their after-action reports include bizarre but consistent findings. Hostile entities pause 2.7 seconds longer before firing when humans are visibly petting animals. Those seconds make all the difference. The domestication offensive took shape faster than tactical manuals could update. Human-led boarding parties began employing modified animal handling techniques against automated defenses. Security footage from the Sigma Draconis engagement shows Chief Petty Officer Alvarez approaching a fully armed sentry turret with palm extended, cooing the same reassurances one might use for a feral cat. The weapons threat assessment cycled through 6 contradictory classifications before defaulting to standby mode. Standard debrief question. Were you aware that unit had just slaughtered 17 Vulpex commandos? Alvarez's response, "Oh yeah, but it wasn't growling or anything." Psychological warfare divisions scrambled to adapt. The old playbooks relied on universal physiological tells: increased respiration, pupil dilation, submissive postures. Human neural architecture rendered those markers meaningless. Veterans visiting the front lines reported something more unsettling. Humans exhibited stronger stress responses to malfunctioning coffee makers than to actual combat scenarios. The Drazik War College ran 17 simulations, where human participants treated active war zones like obstacle courses. Completion rates exceeded 98%. Post-exercise interviews revealed participants had primarily focused on not looking stupid, rather than survival. First contact procedures underwent radical revision. Standard xenolinguistic packages now include Earth animal vocalizations, alongside diplomatic phrases. The Vulpex ambassador's personal logs noted, human delegation arrived with emotional support golden retriever. Subject immediately distracted all security personnel. Recommend we develop equivalent tactic before next summit. Security footage confirms the dog received more scans than the human diplomats. Armistice negotiations incorporated the new reality. The Treaty of Proxima Centauri became the first to include interspecies petting zoos as mandatory diplomatic infrastructure. The original Doom-Stalker now lounges in Earth's embassy atrium during high-level talks. Behavioral analysts confirm its presence reduces delegate aggression by measurable margins. Security personnel report an unexpected benefit. The creature growls at any delegate who raises their voice at human representatives. Tactical manuals list novel human-specific threats. Top concern: affective contamination. Multiple cases confirm humans transmit their aberrant threat assessment patterns to allied species. Vulpex commandos stationed with human units begin exhibiting delayed fear responses within 6 weeks. The phenomenon so predictable, it's been given an operational designation: the puppy effect. Battlefield medics now screen for it during routine checkups. Standard boarding doctrine lists human-animal units as force multipliers alongside flamethrowers and breaching charges. Their psychological impact metrics rival entire platoons. Admiral Vex's controversial follow-up memo pushed further, regarding proposed tactical applications of human children, denied. For now, the research wasn't wrong. Initial tests showed 900% higher de-escalation rates when human minors were present. The ethical debates rage on. The Doom-Stalker's transition from galactic boogeyman to diplomatic asset was complete within 8 standard months. It now wears a customized harness during high-profile summits, not for restraint but to allow easier scratching access for nervous delegates. Behavioral logs show it actively seeks out humans when stressed. 6 peer-reviewed papers argue this constitutes the first documented case of reverse domestication, a predator species conditioning humans to provide care. The counter-argument cites security footage where the creature visibly herd stray delegates toward human ambassadors during tense negotiations. Harvester incursion patterns shifted notably after the summit incident. Their usual blitzkrieg tactics faltered against human-influenced sectors. Intel recovered from disabled harvester vessels contained extensive files on Earth animal behavior. The files weren't cataloged under threat analysis. They appeared in a folder labeled countermeasures. Standard evacuation protocols now route civilians toward human-occupied sectors during attacks. Survival rates jump 17-fold when humans are present. Why? Harvester drones exhibit targeting hesitation around human settlements. Current theory suggests their neural nets can't process humans' lack of defensive posturing. Some field commanders exploit this by having human volunteers wave at advancing harvester formations, an absurdly effective tactic officially designated Operation Hey There, the Vulpex 7th. Armada's after-action report contained the most telling assessment. Humans don't fight wars. They host them. Enemy forces become guests following incomprehensible social rules. Supporting evidence includes 12 documented cases where human settlements offered tea to invading forces. In 9 instances, hostilities ceased permanently. Armistice negotiations now default to Earth standard protocols. All parties sit at round tables. Human psychological studies confirm this reduces perceived hierarchy. Service animals circulate to lower stress hormones. Human hospitality specialists oversee catering to exploit cross-species food bonding. The Treaty of Tau Ceti was signed using an Earth custom called a potluck. Analysis shows signatures were executed 40% faster than traditional methods. The Doom-Stalker attends all major diplomatic functions now. Galactic archivists can't decide whether to classify it as a mascot, a living weapon, or a therapy animal. It sleeps curled around Earth's ambassador's chair during lengthy negotiations. Security teams report it growls when any delegate approaches the human too quickly. Behavioral analysts confirm this isn't a threat display. It's protective behavior identical to Earth canines guarding their owners. Field manuals warn about humanization contagion. The term describes how human-interacting species begin adopting aberrant threat responses. Vulpex sentries now scratch behind their helmet ridges when stressed, an unconscious mimicry of human petting gestures. Vorkanian commanders have been observed kneading tactical tables during high-stakes briefings. The Drazik High Council officially banned stress balls after multiple members were caught absent-mindedly tossing them during budget negotiations. 16 fleets have standing orders to prioritize protecting human companions over tactical objectives. The reasoning is coldly pragmatic. Survival rates for traditional units drop below 30% without human presence. Harvester analytics confirm they now classify human settlements as high-risk, low-yield targets. Their revised assault protocols devote 4 times more resources to human sectors, not because they're more dangerous, but because Harvester neural networks can't predict their responses. The Vulpex ambassador's personal logs summarize the paradigm shift. We spent millennia perfecting the art of war. Humans treat it like a dinner party where someone might need to break up a fight. Somehow this works better. Standard first contact packages now include 3 unexpected items: tennis balls, pre-peeled bananas, and a laminated card titled, "How to Recognize When Something Wants Pets." Fleet Admiral Vex's original teddy bear doctrine memo now occupies a display case at the Intergalactic War College. The accompanying plaque reads, "Sometimes the strongest weapon is a complete lack of survival instinct. The Doom-Stalker still visits classrooms sometimes." Xenobiology students learn proper scritching techniques as part of their core curriculum. Security measures are minimal, just a reinforced lectern and emergency treats. Visitors often ask why it prefers certain humans over others. The answer's simple. It remembers who gave the best ear rubs during peace talks. Final security briefing notes confirm an unexpected benefit. Humans don't just disrupt enemy combat protocols, they reset them. Multiple hostile species have abandoned traditional warfare entirely after prolonged human exposure. The current galactic record stands at 6 formerly warlike civilizations, now primarily engaged in competitive baking and interspecies cuddle piles. Military historians are still debating whether this constitutes surrender or evolution. Armistice Day celebrations now feature the Doom-Stalker prominently. It wears ceremonial ribbons and tolerates photo sessions with various dignitaries. Security personnel confirm it remains fully capable of dismantling warships. It just chooses not to. The Vulpex ambassador was recently photographed feeding it treats from his own ration pack. Analysis shows both parties' stress hormones at record lows. Standard-issue human military uniforms now include treat pouches. This began as a joke until behavioral studies proved their tactical value. 78% of surveyed non-human soldiers reported feeling calmer when their human squadmates carried visible snacks. The Vulpex 7th Armada's official dress code now lists at least 1 pocket containing animal treats as mandatory. The original human from the summit incident still serves as a consultant. Their current project involves acclimating Reaper-class predators to laser pointers. Early results show promise the creatures will chase the dot for hours without initiating standard combat protocols. Project notes reveal the end goal, teaching them to fetch. Fleet Admiral Vex's final assessment remains unchanged. Give a human enough time and they'll pet anything into submission, including war itself. The Doom-Stalker reportedly purred when read that quote. Security footage confirms it was receiving chin scritches at the time. The Treaty of Kessel III was the first to include human-specific clauses. Article 14 now mandates appropriate animal ambassadors at all high-level negotiations. The Vulpex Armistice Accords added an entire appendix titled Human Greeting Protocols, mainly banning hand-feeding during tense moments. By the time the Yig-Hazoot trade agreements were ratified, they included diagrams of proper ear-scratching technique. The Vulpex ambassador submitted his 13th request for hazard pay when reassigned to the Earth Liaison Office. His formal complaint cited chronic psychological distress from unexpected human behaviors. Attached security footage showed a human delegate offering belly rubs to a visiting Harvester scout drone. The drone is now the ambassador's personal assistant. Galactic Council engineers reverse-engineered containment protocols from Terran veterinary standards. The new human quarantine chambers feature reinforced scritching posts and treat dispensers. Emergency sessions confirm these measures reduce human stress responses by 300% compared to standard holding cells. Council transcripts reveal heated debates over whether to classify humans as diplomatic assets or controlled hazards, ACAR. Market intelligence confirmed a sharp spike in demand for human behavioral consultants. Former pet trainers commanded higher fees than weaponsmiths. The most sought-after tutor, an elderly Terran dog groomer, reportedly charged 4 antimatter cores per session. Her waiting list included 3 seated monarchs and a harvester hive queen. The Doom-Stalker adopted Earth's embassy lobby as its preferred napping spot. Security teams initially objected until metrics proved its presence shortened negotiations by 47%. It now sleeps curled around the main briefing table during talks. Behavioral analysts confirm it growls at anyone raising their voice above 60 decibels, except humans, who get gentle nuzzles instead. 17 separate embassies installed custom perches after observing the Doom-Stalker's calming effects. The Vorkanian delegation's aviary now houses 3 formerly feral skyrenders, all trained by human volunteers using snack-based reinforcement. Security logs show the creatures intervening when talks grow tense, depositing shiny objects before human delegates as peace offerings. Standard first contact packages now include translated human baby talk phrases. Field tests confirmed phrases like, "Who's a good boy?" achieve faster rapport building than formal greetings. The Vulpix language division protested until their own studies verified a 500% increase in successful negotiations when humans use these terms. Military checkpoints added human handling specialists to every inspection team. Their sole duty: intercept approaching humans before they attempt to pet classified weapon systems. The current record for unauthorized friendly contact stands at 17 armored divisions in a single planetary rotation. Incident reports universally describe human subjects as unaware of security protocols but cooperative. The Galactic Council archives now dedicate an entire wing to human-animal interaction studies. Their most requested document? A Terran video titled 10 Easy Steps for Taming Stray Predators. Over 400 delegates have attempted to replicate the techniques, with mixed results. The Yig Hazut ambassador still bears scars from misapplying Step 5 to a crystalline magma worm. Emergency response protocols underwent radical simplification. The revised galactic distress signal includes 2 options: request armed backup or send nearest available human. Field data shows human presence alone reduces crisis escalation in 92% of scenarios. The remaining 8% usually involve humans befriending the perceived threat. Standard diplomatic luggage allowances were amended to account for human necessities. Each delegate may now transport up to 20 kilograms of interspecies social lubrication, mostly dog treats and tennis balls. Security scanners flag these items but never confiscate them. The current record for diplomatic treaty acceleration stands at 3 minutes 17 seconds achieved when a human delegate produced bacon-flavored rewards. Medical ships now carry human children as standard equipment. Their presence has proven more effective than tranquilizers for calming wounded predatory species. The Vulpix Medical Corps initially resisted until footage showed a critically injured skyrender allowing a human toddler to braid its antennae during treatment. Harvester incursion patterns now conspicuously avoid human population centers. Intelligence intercepts confirm their scouts categorize human settlements as high-contact risk zones, not due to military defenses, but unpredictable socialization attempts. A captured harvester drone was found to contain translated Terran phrases including, "Who wants belly rubs?" and "Fetch." Battlefield medics report an unexpected trend. Wounded predators increasingly seek human assistance voluntarily. The current record for most dramatic recovery involves a magma worm that traveled 17 light-years to locate the human who once fed it jerky. It now serves as an auxiliary heating unit at Earth's Embassy Medical Wing. Standard prisoner of war protocols were quietly rewritten after multiple incidents. 7 different species have formally complained about human captors, excessive bonding attempts with classified military fauna. The most egregious case involved a human mechanic teaching captured harvester drones to play dead for treats. Galactic amusement parks now feature human encounter exhibits. Visitors observe Terrans interacting with dangerous species in controlled environments. The most popular attraction shows humans deliberately misreading threat displays as playbows or dinner-time excitement. Educational placards remind viewers, "Do not attempt." Evolutionary advantages not transferable. The Doom-Stalker has developed new behaviors since adopting the embassy. It now brings gifts to favorite diplomats, usually dismantled surveillance drones or shattered energy cores. Human staff have trained. The galaxy learned 2 truths that summit day. First, never bet against humans. Second, even apex predators appreciate good scritches. Fear operates as a language, one our species never bothered to learn. The security footage proves it. Rewatch tape marker 04-1783. That's when the Doom-Stalker's vibrational patterns shifted into what xenologists now classify as a purr. Its neural clusters fired in perfect sync with the human scratching rhythm. 17 fleets couldn't achieve what one idiot with working fingers did. The Vulpex ambassador put it best in his final report. Recommend classifying humans as natural disasters. Friendly ones, with snacks. The Doom-Stalker still visits for ear rubs every Tuesday. The galaxy had a long memory of war, but a short one for humanity. When the Vorkanian Doom-Stalker appeared in the middle of a diplomatic summit, every species froze, except the human. While alien delegates scrambled for weapons or cover, the human just tilted their head and asked, "Can I stroke it?" The Doom-Stalker, a creature known to reduce entire fleets to scrap, paused. Its razor-sharp tendrils twitched. The room held its breath. This wasn't how first contact was supposed to go. But then again, humans never followed the script. The Vorkanian Defense Accord had 17 containment protocols for Doom-Stalker encounters. That summit chamber implemented all of them. Multi-phase force fields, biosignature dampeners, 3 separate panic rooms with independent transit systems. The Kurath ambassador brought a personal plasma escort squad. Every contingency accounted for except one. The creature tore through reality like paper. No dimensional breach alarms, no shield harmonics fluctuation. One moment the trade delegates were arguing over mineral rights. The next, 6 meters of chitin and bioplasma dominated the center platform. Every species reacted exactly as predicted. The Tulvani delegates triggered their emergency translocation beacons. The Gorthian ambassador deployed her combat exoskeleton. The human dropped their datapad. Historical precedent suggested immediate annihilation. During the siege of Crixus Prime, a single Doom-Stalker disabled an entire battle group's weapon systems before systematically dismantling each ship over 47 standard hours. The incident at New Older Station ended when the creature phased through 17 levels of armored bulkheads to extract the commanding officer's nervous system. Article 12 of the Vorkanian Defense Accord exists because of what happened to the Ighazut research outpost. There weren't enough pieces left to determine what killed them. 17 interstellar safety guidelines dictated the humans' required actions. They violated all of them. No defensive posture, no attempt at de-escalation. The human took one step forward, head tilted at precisely 23 degrees, a uselessly vulnerable angle against a Class X threat organism. Security feeds show the exact moment standard protocols failed. The Doom-Stalker's primary neural cluster pulsed blue instead of combat red. Its forward sensory stalks recoiled slightly, then extended toward the human's outstretched hand. Every weapon system in the chamber remained locked, not because they'd been disabled, but because the targeting algorithms couldn't reconcile the creature's behavior. When the human said, "Good boy," in standard intergalactic, 3 different delegates required medical attention for blood pressure spikes. The Doom-Stalker made a sound no recorded encounter had ever documented, something between a reactor hum and a contented sigh. Its bioluminescent patterns shifted from tactical threat display to something resembling the lazy swirls of a Jovian gas giant at dusk. By the time security teams breached the chamber with authorized lethal force, they found the human scratching behind the creature's tertiary sensory node with one hand, while negotiating trade concessions with the other. The Doom-Stalker had wrapped 2 of its lesser tendrils around the human's ankles. Not the documented evisceration grip, but what xenobiologists would later classify as affiliative contact. Every alarm still blared. Every protocol still demanded immediate termination of both organisms. The head of security took one look at the scene, then quietly ordered all teams to stand by. Later, when pressed during the inquiry, she'd state for the record, "I've seen what happens when you interrupt a human bonding ritual. Neither species tends to appreciate it." The footage of that summit would eventually play on loop in 17 different military academies. Tactical analysts kept isolating the moment the Doom-Stalker first mirrored the human's head tilt, 0.43 seconds after initial contact. The angle matched perfectly. 73 separate studies would attempt to explain why the galaxy's most efficient killing machine responded to an approach designed for Earth canines, not one of those. Studies reached a satisfying conclusion. The Galaxy's dominant species evolved in sterile biospheres, carefully curated worlds where predators had been extinct for millennia. Humans grew up knee-deep in Pleistocene megafauna. Saber-tooths hunted their ancestors. Wolves shadowed their campfires. When humanity finally reached the stars, they brought that evolutionary baggage with them. Core world children learn predator recognition through simulation modules. Human toddlers develop it by accident at petting zoos. The difference shows in the brain scans. Tolvani neural pathways light up with threat responses at geometric angles below 35 degrees, a hardwired reaction to traditional Vorkanian ambush postures. Human visual cortexes ping with curiosity at organic movement patterns. This explains the domestication reflex. Galactic observers documented the phenomenon across 17 human colonies before the summit incident. Faced with dangerous animals, humans default to 4 predictable actions: eye contact reduction, slow blinking, vocal softness, and, most bafflingly, voluntary proximity. The Tau Ceti xenopsychology studies called it affiliative threat misinterpretation. Earth zoologists have a simpler term: wanting to pet the murder floof. Standard predator displays don't work on humans. Bared teeth trigger primate social responses rather than flight instincts. Raised hackles read as cold rather than aggressive. Bioluminescent threat patterns, like those rippling across the Doom-Stalker's carapace, get processed as pretty colors. The creature expected panic. It got a human squinting and tilting their head like someone trying to decipher a street performer's act. At the 2:14 microsecond mark of the encounter, the Doom-Stalker's neural clusters fired in an unprecedented sequence. Combat algorithms aborted mid-cycle. Its bioluminescence shifted from predator reds to curiosity blues, before stabilizing in an undulating green-yellow gradient, precisely matching Earth's playbow spectrum used by canids. Security feeds show the human responding instantly to this accidental mimicry. Shoulders dropped to a non-threatening angle. Hands turned palm up without weapons. The right foot edged forward in a mirror of the creature's own cautious approach. The universal body language of creatures, unsure whether they're making friends or lunch. What galactic observers missed was the calculated risk assessment humming behind that human smile. A field zoologist would recognize the signs. Weight distributed for sudden evasion, peripheral vision tracking all possible exits, breath controlled to mask adrenaline. Humans don't approach apex predators because they're fearless. They do it because their ancestors survived by reading minute tells, the twitch of an ear, the flick of a tail, that reveal an animal's intentions a half second before it acts. The Doom-Stalker had none of the standard tells. No flattened ears, no raised tail. Its threat displays were optical illusions, not muscle contractions. By accident or design, its defensive postures overlapped almost perfectly with Earth's friendly interest signals. When it extended a sensory stalk toward the human's offered hand, the movement mirrored a dolphin presenting its belly for scratches. Not later analysis would reveal the creature's bioluminescent patterns cycled through 17 distinct emotional states in under 3 seconds. Everyone misread by human neurobiology. What the summit's xenologists cataloged as combat stalking behavior, translated in human perception as excited, wagging. The high-frequency vibrations along its cutting limbs, registered as happy trembles rather than weapons. Charging military tacticians still debate whether the human survival was luck or subliminal calculation. The Mars Zoological Institute's behaviorists lean toward the latter. Their 284-volume study on human-animal dynamics proves Homo sapiens can assess predator moods 3 times faster than any galactic species, an evolutionary leftover from when misreading big cats meant sudden death. That explains why the human didn't flinch when the Doom-Stalker's secondary mandibles grazed their wrist. Galactic observers saw a near miss with flesh-rending tools. The human recognized the motion for what it was. Exploratory scent checking, identical to a dog sniffing a stranger's fingers before deciding to trust them.